So, this episode of Flutecast, this is episode number 107 of our Flutecast series. This is about side-blown flutes. Side-blown flutes are, we're referring, when we talk about side-blown flutes, to Native American flutes that are where you breathe into the side rather than the end. You're breathing into the side of the instrument. Now, this is distinct from flutes that require an embouchure, flutes where you make an embouchure and blow across an open hole, an embouchure hole. Those are often called side-blown flutes, classical silver flutes or bansuris. What we're talking about here are actual Native American flutes where we've moved the breath hole from the end of the instrument to the side of the instrument. Why do we do that? Usually these are on lower flutes. This is a Pat Haran low G. That's a pretty low flute. And I might not be able to reach the finger holes comfortably on this flute if it were end blown. Because if it's end blown, you'll see, if you could see, I've got quite a reach, and the wrist of the low hand is usually the limiting factor. That's where you can't bend it enough or can't bend it comfortably enough back to reach the finger holes. And that's often a limiting factor on how low a flute you can play. But if I move the breath hole from the end of the flute to the side of the flute, all of a sudden it becomes very much more comfortable. And that's one of the great reasons to have side-blown flutes. I could even play it out of the side of my mouth like this. And I can look forward. I can actually play it out of the side and look forward. And one of the great things about side-blown flutes is when we're playing in the normal position, Native American flute, the sound comes from the sound mechanism at the bottom of the bird and goes out forward. And we're in kind of the worst position to hear our own instrument, so we can't hear ourselves that well. But when you move to a side-blown configuration, all of a sudden, at least one ear is within range of the sound mechanism, and you can hear your own playing so much better. So that's a real advantage. And this particular flute is a regular finger hole. So we've got 6 finger holes here. Close the third finger from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it's just a regular sound mechanism, regular pentatonic minor scale. One of the things on these instruments is when you play a very low flute, and this is particular to low-key flutes in general, you're not going to get a lot typically into the second register. Okay, normally on mid-range flutes and high flutes, you can often get 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 notes up into the second register. Low flutes, often not so much. They're a bit of a compromise. However, this Pat Haran flute is particularly good, and it's hard to see, but it's not a straight configuration bore. It's a conical bore. And Pat Haran specializes in making conical bore flutes so that they can get up more easily into the second register and be tuned well in the second register. That's one of Pat Haran's intentions, is to make that happen. And we're able to get up into the second register on this flute. We're able to get up to a key note, which is the octave note above this. And that allows us to play diatonic melodies like hymns, up into the second register and get that octave note. For example, if you can make that jump from this note up to an octave note on a low flute, that's unusual. So we're going to go even lower. How low can we go and still say within reason? This is a Bill Hughes flute. Bill Hughes does a lot of low flutes, but in this configuration, we're using an alternate fingering. This is a low E, so this is another 3 semitones below the Pat Haran low G flute we had. And it is a side-blown flute, and we have an alternate fingering. It's a little hard to see, but there's a thumb hole in the back. There it is. There's a thumb hole in the back. I put my thumb on it, find the hole in the back, and then I put one finger on top, and this is a 5-hole flute. One thumb in the back, 2, 3, 4, 5. Except I'm actually covering the third hole. Get my fingers out of the way. I've got this is my second hole. I got the thumb hole in the back and my third hole with the pinky. Get my fingers back in front. And the bottom 2 holes. Normally you'd cover the bottom 3 holes with your lower hand, but now I'm going to cover this with 1 and 3. My index finger and my ring finger on the bottom hole. This alternate fingering allows me to reach this very, very low instrument. Here we go.